I'm discussing with the minority leader, trying to pursue a wording that will articulate our collective intent of the Senate. May I just mention and have a few, maybe 2 minutes with what Senator Risa, the esteemed senator, said. Yung spirit kasi ng Constitution, once ka lang pwede ma-impeach sa isang taon. At very clear po, pati po yung esteemed, I do recognize our the former chairman of the COMELEC, who, if he did not qualify me, I would not have become a councilor. Christian Munsod, our esteemed legal luminaries are here po. Alam niyo po, in all the books nakalagay doon, bakit may 1-year ban? Kasi nga, hindi daw dapat guluhin ng guluhin yung impeachable officer all throughout the year. Dapat isa lang. So yung spirit ng decision, nung sinabi ng BARD na, bigyan mo siya hanggang 1 year, hanggang February 6. Pero lumabas tayo sa legal. Ipa-floating muna natin to. I-dribble muna natin. Tignan muna natin. When is the soonest that the Supreme Court can decide? The next 15, 30 days? By September 1, simula na ng budget hearing sa House. By late September, simula na tayo sa Senate. Baha, DepEd, gamot, trabaho, lahat yan, inaasikaso natin. Kung walang choice at isasabay natin impeachment hapon, impeachment umaga, legislation, bakit hindi? Pero hindi ba dapat bigyan din natin ng katahimikan yung ating bansa at least until February 6? Na sinabi na ng Supreme Court, barred, mali ang proseso, tuldukan na rin natin sa Senado. So, ang isa na lang po ang pinag-uusapan natin, which I want to give honor and thank the minority leader na, pero may appeal. So, whether or not the Senate says tuldukan na natin, nandun pa rin sa Supreme Court yung appeal. Would it be acceptable both to Senator Marcoleta and to the minority? What if we word the motion that we move to adhere to the decision of the Supreme Court in Duterte versus period? Huwag na natin ilagay sa dulo kung dismiss, area. Merely adhering. Kasi nasa decision naman, nasa loob na naman decision na void ab initio and executory right away. So I don't know if that's acceptable. No? I'm trying to think of a word. Adhere, even obey kasi baka ma-misinterpret na because some of us say na wala tayong choice to obey, some think na wag tayo subservient, di ba? But adhere might be a good word. Senator Marcoleta, are we getting closer or medyo lumayo?
I think, Mr. President, we're getting closer, except that we should put some operative words there that would indicate the closure of this very issue.
Mr. President, what if it's we move to for the Senate to adhere to the Senate to the Supreme Court decision in Duterte versus House of Representatives and hereby terminate whatever unless or until certain time na may. Mr. President, may I ask the good sponsor, can we mention the appeal?
I don't think so, Mr. President. Yes. I think we can only
because
adhere.
It's immediately executory.
I think in obedience to the decision of the Supreme Court, the Senate adheres to it and put to rest.
Let me put it another way, Mr. President. If a motion is approved to act upon the decision and to adhere to the decision, am I correct, Mr. President, that that will be the decision, that will be in our journal, and then by operation of administrative process in the Senate, everything that has to do with the impeachment will be sent to the archives?
That is correct, Your Honor. That is the
I yield to
administrative procedure
yes.
that will logically follow.
I yield to my colleagues, Mr. President. I'm just trying to come up with a consensus.
Mr. President, I think the operative word today, if we do decide to act on the matters to archive, as the precedents with former Ombudsman Gutierrez and former Chief Justice Davide. My
No,
question is,
former President Estrada.
former President Estrada, my apologies. Today, one of our Senate resolutions was archived. This is resolution number 35. And it's really simple, a simple amendment to the rules. But my question, Mr. President, is nothing can stop us from pulling it out of the archives and taking it over once again in plenary. Is that correct, Mr. President?
That is correct, Your Honor. Besides, although the Supreme Court said that the Senate never acquired jurisdiction and that the articles of impeachment are void, null and void ab initio from the beginning, we cannot deny the fact that the articles of impeachment were in fact sent to the Senate, that the Senate convened and sent out certain orders and summons, and these are all part of the records. So it's but natural, although it was declared unconstitutional and that the Senate never acquired jurisdiction, for us to still include that as part of the records of the Senate, because it is part of the Senate's history.
Yes, and precedence tells us that we have done so in the past.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So, would it be proper to say that it will be archived without prejudice to the decision from the final decision of the Supreme Court from the motion for reconsideration? I mean, it's the same thing, without prejudice. We do that with the bills. We approve it on second reading without prejudice, but each and every one of us here questioning second reading approval, they have 3 days in which we can act upon it.
Well, Your Honor, whether you state that or not, we can bring it out of the archives by a majority vote anyway. So it's
Yes.
at the pleasure. It's with the pleasure of the body if
Yes.
the body will agree to include that phrase or not. But
Thank you
in
for the
relation to
clarity,
Senator
Mr. President.
Cayetano's suggestion, Senator Marcoleta, if we simply vote in your case, not the motion to table, to adhere, once that decision becomes final, meaning to say after the lapse of the period for a member who voted with the winning side, on the winning side, to seek a reconsideration, the natural effect, without being included in your motion today, would be to archive it. And by virtue of the manifestation of former Senate President Zubiri, if circumstances change, nothing prevents the body, plenary, from making the corresponding motion, putting it to a vote, and reflect the change in circumstances, if any.
That will be acceptable, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor. Senator Soto?
Mr. President, somehow parallel to what you're discussing, perhaps we could consider, no, and I would like to call the attention of the original proponent of this position, Senator Alan Cayetano, who was former Speaker of the House, to adhere to the Supreme Court decision upon its final disposition. In meantime, table or archive upon whatever your pleasure would be. At least, maliwanag sa atin na upon its final disposition, na may motion for reconsideration. We're still giving that chance of a motion for reconsideration.
If I may, Your Honor, if you will indulge me, if I may state the working motion, to adhere to the July 25, 2025 decision of the Supreme Court declaring the articles of impeachment null and void ab initio, and that the Senate did not acquire jurisdiction over the same. We can stop there. And then, as I said, after the vote becomes final, on Monday or Tuesday, if no one will seek a reconsideration, to archive it. If there is no change, then it remains in the archives and nothing needs to be done. If the Supreme Court reverses itself, however possible or impossible that may be, then we will entertain a motion to bring it out of the archives. Bring it out of the archives and act accordingly again, in obedience to the Supreme Court decision. So,
Ang problema, Mr. President, when we say that the Senate has not acquired jurisdiction, masang-ayon tayo sa sinasabi ng Supreme Court decision nilang ito na maraming nagsasabi na hindi tama. Dahil tinawag nyo to ng June 9 nag-oath ang Senate President. Nag-oath yung iba ng June 10, nag-motion, nag-robe pa nga Hindi naman pwedeng pampelikula lang yun, pan-TV lang yung robe na yun. You convened. So hindi pwedeng sabihin ng Supreme Court that you never acquired jurisdiction. February 5, 4:15 p.m., the Senate President's Office and the Senate Secretariat received the articles of impeachment.
I'm sorry, Minority Leader. Legally, when you say the Senate never acquired jurisdiction, it does not deny the fact that we convened. That is a totally different matter. It says that since the articles of impeachment violated the one-year ban, that we never supposedly acquired jurisdiction. Not that we never did when it was not yet barred by the Supreme Court. That factual situation still exists and is part of our records. As I said, that's why the better alternative is to archive it, because it was part of what actually happened, transpired, and it's part of the Senate's history. But having said that, without belaboring the point, if agreement cannot be reached, then we can proceed to dispose of the motion of Senator Soto, our distinguished Minority Floor Leader, to lay the motion of Senator Marcoleta on the table, and depending on the outcome of that vote, should it not be favorable to the movant, then we proceed to act on the motion of Senator Marcoleta. If it is favorable to the movant, the distinguished Minority Floor Leader, then there is no need to proceed with the motion of Senator Marcoleta. Senator Lacson.
Mr. President, we have to determine first if Senator Marcoleta has legal standing in filing his motion to dismiss.
He will amend this motion later. We will first decide on the motion.
So there's amendment to the motion.
Yes. And then let's hear his motion, Your Honor.
Yes. Mr. President, the lady from Antique is seeking the floor. I move that he be
Senator Legarda is recognized. What is your pleasure, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been 3 hours and a half with the very enlightening discussions. I just wanted to clarify, and actually may I convey that there is a sliver of a difference between the two motions, so I wanted to be clarified. The original motion to dismiss, I believe, has been amended based on the discussions to the motion to archive.
Yes.
And the motion to archive, in my understanding, based on all the explanations, would be without prejudice to the reopening of the possibility after the Supreme Court conveys its ruling on the motion for reconsideration.
Yes.
And therefore, in the possibility of the event that it reverses itself, then we would act accordingly.
That is correct. Yes.
On the other hand, there is a motion which takes precedence, and that has been the motion of the Minority Leader to lay on the table the motion. But when you see and interpret the amended motion of the original movement, Senator Marcoleta, and the Minority Leader's motion, it's similar because it lays on the table, or it somehow just postpones indefinitely until such time that the Supreme Court has decided on the motion for reconsideration. Is there any possibility that
May I
we can
explain the
agree so that we can amend it so that the body can actually vote as one? Because we are not putting it to a permanent halt, because we will be waiting anyway for the motion for reconsideration by the Supreme Court.
Yes, Mr. President.
The ruling on that.
May I have
Yes.
1 minute to explain the difference?
I know that there is,
Yeah.
let me state, I know there is a difference. I was just trying to bridge
Yes.
the difference so that there is no need for a painful vote.
Yes, I will just explain the
yes.
difference so that we
Senator
know.
Cayetano is
Yes.
recognized with the permission
Yes.
of Senator Rintulfo.
Thank you. Mr. President, the reason why I want to explain the difference, para malaman natin bakit malapit pero malayo.
Yes, okay.
Because when you laid it on the table, ang ibig sabihin yan, buhay pa yung impeachment. Samantalang sinabi ng Supreme Court, immediately executory. So pag lay on the table, buhay pa yan, pero mamamatay yan paglabas ng MR. Pag in-archive mo, baliktad. Patay na yan. Kasi sinabi na ng Supreme Court, immediately executory.
Void ab initio.
Pero mabubuhay yan pag binuhay ng Supreme Court. Now, ang ibinigay na po ni Senator Marcoleta sa atin, pumayag na siyang tanggalin yung word na dismiss. Because nga, even I question, we're going to dismiss, wala nga jurisdiction. Although there's a Supreme Court ruling saying na pag wala ka na magawa, walang jurisdiction, i-dismiss. So the proposal, which is accepted by Senator Marcoleta, is that we adhere to the decision and then archive it. So ang natural effect nun, sinunod natin yung Supreme Court na immediately executory. Wala tayong, we cannot say na tama to, malito, malito. You only have two choices. Do you follow the Supreme Court or you don't follow? You cannot say tama to, malito. So I think that's the level of disagreement.
Okay, I
Mr.
take
Chair.
note of that, and I was trying to have a unanimous vote and trying to bridge the two motions, which, based on Rule 31, there is actually no motion to archive, but actually every day we archive in our referral. So because of that practice, then that motion is therefore acceptable. Having said that, Mr. President, let me just summarize what we are voting on. We're actually, and I will just say it, the very, very short dispositive portion of the Supreme Court decision. And this is the article, and I quote it, the articles of impeachment are declared barred by Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution. Likewise, they are unconstitutional and are deemed null and void ab initio. Consequently, the Senate did not acquire jurisdiction to constitute itself into an impeachment court, and this decision is immediately executory. I just wanted to summarize what we have been discussing for 3 hours and a half. And while my attempt to bridge the two similarly worded motions did not succeed, then we will therefore have to put it into a vote. Thank you, Mr.
Majority
President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I think we heard enough, and I think it's about time that we dispose the motion of our distinguished minority
Mr. President,
leader
Mr.
to lay
President.
this on the table, Mr. President. So
Parliamentary
I move
inquiry.
for the previous
Parliamentary
motion.
inquiry,
Mr.
Mr. President.
What
Mr.
is
President, Senator Aquino is seeking the floor.
What is the parliamentary inquiry of Senator Aquino?
Mr. President, may I get, earlier Senator Cayetano talked about the differences between a motion to table and motion to archive. May I get an official response, Mr. President? Is that really the difference?
Your Honor, we have not yet heard the motion of Senator Marcoleta.
No, Mr. President, a motion to archive and a motion to table, for us laymen, it sounds similar. Sa totoo lang, Mr. President. Anong pinagkaiba niya, Mr. President?
Senator Aquino,
I mean,
what Senator Soto, that's why I prefer that we act on the motion. What Senator Soto is seeking to table is not the articles of impeachment nor the impeachment case, but the motion of Senator Marcoleta, which we haven't heard.
Okay.
So when we decide on the motion to table, the motion of Senator Marcoleta, not the articles of impeachment.
Yes. And the motion to archive are the articles of impeachment, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yun yung pinagkaiba niya.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Soto?
My motion to table was to table the motion of Senator Marcoleta.
Yes.
The
That's
motion
exactly
to
what I
dismiss.
said, Your Honor.
Yes.
Oo.
That's exactly what I said.
That is
That
not,
the motion to table pertains to the motion of Senator Marcoleta,
to dismiss.
not
Correct.
the articles
the
of
new one.
impeachment.
Not the articles.
The motion of Senator Marcoleta, if at all, would pertain to the articles of impeachment and or the impeachment case.
And if I may add, Mr. President.
Senator Pangilinan?
Well, the motion to archive.
Senator Pangilinan, we're not yet there.
Well, okay. The motion to table, the motion, then frees us from the debate of whether or not we have the power as a Senate in plenary to address the impeachment complaint.
The chair said that earlier.
Yes, and therefore
We will first
okay.
put to a vote the motion to table of our distinguished minority floor leader, which under our rules has precedence over the motion of Senator Marcoleta, although made earlier. Depending on the outcome of that vote, Then we will act on the motion of Senator Marcoleta accordingly. Senator Estrada.
Mr. President, we have been listening to all the manifestations of almost all senators who stood up. Mr. President, it has been 4 hours listening to several manifestations of our colleagues, and it is about time that we decide right away the pending motions before us. Mr. President, the Filipino people are watching. The Filipino people are listening. The Senate has to act, and the Senate has to act decisively. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the previous motion, Mr. President. On the motion of the Minority Leader, Senator Tito Soto, to lay on the table the motion of Senator Rodante Marcoleta.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Leader for the Senate? What is the pleasure of the Minority Floor Leader?
Mr. President, I move for a nominal vote.
The Chair has every intention of doing that, Your Honor. There is a motion to vote on the motion of Senator Soto to lay on the table the motion of Senator Marcoleta pertaining to the articles of impeachment vis-a-vis and in light of the Supreme Court decision of July 25, 2025. To explain, a yes, affirmative, or aye vote supports the motion of the Honorable Minority Leader, and it therefore means that we will not act on the motion of Senator Marcoleta today. A nay vote, a no vote, means that the motion of Senator Marcoleta will not be laid on the table and that we will act and vote upon it today. Senator Lacson? Later on, we'll know the amendment. Senator Lacson, so that it's on the record, please.
So you're only referring, Mr. President, to the motion to dismiss? No, motion to table. Just the motion to table.
Just the motion to table, Your Honor, because we are not yet there. There being no objection, the motion is of the... Yes, Senator Zubiri.
Yes, Mr. President, being a former Senate President and being former Majority Leader, I'd like to ask the audience to restrain from commenting or laughing, please. Well, we are in a, for me, it's a sacred place. It is in the August chamber of the Senate that we have decorum. May we ask for decorum from those who are watching within the plenary, Mr. President.
Actually, they have been silent for the past 3.5 hours. Chair would like to remind the people in the gallery to kindly respect the processes and procedures of the Senate and to avoid any claps, any jeering or comments so that we can proceed with roll call vote.
Yes, with due respect, because I heard a lot of laughing after the poor gentleman from our good friend, Senator Lacson, asked only for a clarification of the vote that will happen in a few seconds.
The Sergeant at Arms is so directed.
Just proper decorum, because this is a very important vote, and it's a very serious vote that will be taking place. Thank you.
The Sergeant at Arms is so directed to kindly maintain order in the gallery. Acting now on the motion of the Majority Leader for us to divide the House and vote on the motion to lay on the table, Secretary is directed to call the roll for nominal voting.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Aquino. Senator Cayetano Alan. Senator Cayetano Pia. Senator De La Rosa. Senator Ejercito. Senator Estrada. Senator Gatchalian. Senator Go. Senator Ontiveros. Senator Lacson. Senator Lapid. Senator Legarda. Senator Marcoleta. Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto.
May I register my vote, Mr. President?
The Minority Leader may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. President, the Supreme Court decision is now pending appeal. It is prudent to wait for the results rather than prematurely archiving, if not dismissing, Because I know for a fact, once it is archived, it is dead. So what happens if the Supreme Court reverses itself? Clear and blatant errors are present in the ruling of the Supreme Court. First, they misunderstood the legislative process in assuming that the 19th Congress adjourned sine die in February 5. Grave error. Thus effectively dismissing the first three complaints, paving the way for them to say na ano pala, yung one-year ban binayolate. The archiving of the three complaints were done after the initiation of the fourth complaint. The one-year ban did not set in. Second, the decision practically amended the clear mandate by the Constitution by placing a hierarchy on the modes to initiate an impeachment complaint. Parang wala na yung third option. Third, the Supreme Court retroactively applied the new definition to the present case in the violation of the doctrine of operative facts, thus voiding as well the impeachment proceedings of former President Estrada and Chief Justice Corona. They did not interpret the Constitution, Mr. President. They amended the Constitution. So lastly, the Supreme Court now has the chance to rectify these errors in its decision. So I was hoping to table the motion so that we can let us afford them this opportunity for the benefit of future impeachment processes and to uphold the clear mandate of the 1987 Constitution. All we needed to do was wait a little. And so I will have to register a yes vote. I know it will be a vote in the minority, but I have always voted in the minority in many issues in the Senate since 1992 up to the present. Always prayed I was wrong. Unfortunately, I was always right. My God, have mercy on your decision. I vote yes.
Noted. Secretary will please continue.
Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camil, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, Senate President Escudero.
No.
Pwedeng mag-explain ng boto.
Before the explanations of vote, Chair would first like to make of record the result. With 5 affirmative votes, 19 negative votes, the motion to table the motion of Senator Marcoleta is lost. Lost. Soto. Sorry, Senator Soto is lost. No, he said the motion to table the motion of Senator Marcoleta is lost.
Yes.
Pati tuloy ako, nalito dito siya.
Mr. President,
Senator Villanueva.
if I may, Mr. President, and to go back to the first motion raised by Senator Marcoleta, if I may be allowed, Mr. President, to amend, Mr. President, the motion, Mr. President.
The gentleman may proceed with the permission of Senator Marcoleta.
Mr. President, adhering to the immediately executory decision rendered by the Supreme Court en banc on 25 of July 2025, which held, among others, the articles of impeachment are null and void ab initio, and that the Senate did not acquire jurisdiction over the same, I move to transfer the articles of impeachment in relation to case number 002-2011 entitled in the matter of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte to the archives. I so move, Mr. President.
What does Senator Marcoleta say?
I accept, Mr. President.